So here we are on day 2, and yesterday I talked about how I had hyperthyroidism, and remember I said that there are millions of people that don't even know they have it, but there's also millions of people that do know they have it. So I'm getting a ton of messages from people who are like, hey, I have the same thing, like this is what happened to me, and this is what happened to me, and this is da 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 da. So here's what happened to me. So remember I was saying that they were going to send me for radioactive iodine treatment because my thyroid was so overactive that my resting heart rate was like 120, 130, sometimes 140. I wasn't responding well to medication. So a lot of times when, I just saw something fly behind me. A lot of times when you don't respond to the medication, they have to take a different alternative, right? So, and I mean, this was over time. This wasn't like, 3 weeks, hey, the medication didn't work. So remember I worked at the hospital at the time, and I was admitted at right from my work, right from the hospital. I was admitted to the hospital from the hospital, just one floor to the other, to the cardiac unit, right into my, I think I was 19 or 20, because I was having issues. So that's when they said, okay, we're going to have to talk about other alternatives. So they're like, all right, radioactive iodine. So what does this process include? You're like, oh, radioactive iodine. Well, here's the coolest part. I felt like the Hulk because, like, okay, first of all, nuclear medicine department is like in the basement of the hospital. Ooh. And it has literally like those little hazard things on the door. So like, it's radioactive. So first I go for a thyroid scan. So you either can be injected with a dye or you can take a pill. I believe I took a pill. It was so long ago. And they bring this little thing up to your neck and they scan your thyroid because they want to evaluate your thyroid function and see like, okay, how much do we need in this radioactive iodine? Like how much of the pill or what dosage do you need? So, okay, I go back a few days later and I swallow this like ginormous pill that they literally like took out of the thing with gloves on and put it in this little cup, and I drank it down. Well, put it in my mouth and swallowed it. And, like I said, it was kind of so long ago, and I felt like, I can't really remember if I stayed there for a few minutes. All I know is like you walk out and then you follow up with your doctor a few days later. Well, I probably didn't follow up a few days later. It was probably a few months later. And most of the time when you do have the radioactive iodine, what it does is it pretty much destroys your thyroid and its function. And that's pretty much what it did with me. And it's common in cases where they have like nodules on their thyroid, goiters, which I had. It takes care of that when medication is not doing its job. It's just, mine was just out of control. So pretty much shrunk my thyroid, destroyed all my thyroid function. So I went from hyper, being overactive, to hypo, being underactive. So, 20-something years later, I am on hormone replacement therapy. I will be on forever. It's nothing that's harmful. It's just a hormone that is supposed to be emitted by my thyroid that is not being emitted, I should say. And if it's not, remember, that's like your central, whatever, nervous center. I don't care what you want to call it, but this little gland controls everything, okay? So what happens when you go from hyper to hypo? Here's my signs and symptoms, and I'm going to list them, and I'm going to list which ones like I have, okay? So fatigue, sensitive to cold, yes. Winters suck, my feet are freezing even in the summer. Constipation, dry skin, hair falling out, weight gain, puffy face, I wouldn't say so much. You can have hoarseness, you can have sore muscles, weak muscles, stiffness in your joints, slowing heart rate. Now, I wouldn't call mine like slow. I'd call it like good now versus what it was before. Like it's less than half of what it was before. So, I mean, to me, that's kind of good. So now I'm on, yeah, okay, sure, crabbiness could be one of them too. So irritability, yes, definitely. So I know that like sometimes these symptoms, like, is it my thyroid? Is it not my thyroid? So I do have to go and get it checked. When they were trying to get it under control from the hyper, and when I went hypo, there's so many, they put you on what they think is the right dose, and it may or may not be. So they recheck it. Remember, I said go to an endocrinologist, not your family practitioner. If your family general practitioner wants to test it, and that's fine, but if it's out of range, then you want to see an endocrinologist, because it is all about the hormones. So, and you don't want to mess with that. I mean, then you could really say I'm hormonal. So I think when I first started with the Synthroid, which is what I take, I feel like I went like every 3 months until they got it to stay stabilized. Now, some people don't stabilize that quick. Some people do. I never really got the symptoms of the stiffness and the sore muscles and the sore joints and those kind of things. So now, 20 some odd years later, I get mine tested every year. But, you know, of course I have more to this story that I'm going to share with you tomorrow, which is like how the ups and downs of hypothyroidism has been. You know, because for a short time I was hyperthyroid, and then, you know, my little radioisotype pill and my gamma camera showed that I have no function. So if you're going to have one or the other, hypothyroidism is easier to control than hyper, to be honest. That's you know, what I've been told. And I feel like yes, because, you know, I've been pretty stable with mine. Once they find the dose that works for you, then you're good. But don't give up so easy. Find what works for you, find a doctor you're comfortable with, and make sure that you feel right. You know, if you have these symptoms, and I'm not saying that if you have these symptoms, oh my gosh, yes, you have an underactive thyroid. No, because a lot of these symptoms, if you look at it, mimic other autoimmune disorders. We'll get into that next week in that series. But for this week, I'm just going to kind of fill you in on what's coming next. So tomorrow I'll be taking you on my little hypothyroidism journey. Not that it's been a smooth sailing thing, but it could have been a lot bumpier than what it was. Like, as far as still having to have heart monitor at one point, almost going back into hyper because the medication was wrong. So this is not something you mess around with. When a doctor puts you on a dose and you're like, yeah, I haven't had it checked in like 7 years, you better get your butt in there and get it checked, because you're only screwing yourself. Because let's see, you know, a lot of people are like, I have hypothyroidism, my thyroid's underactive, and I'm gaining weight. Guess what? We're going to talk about that later this week too. Like, how do you lose weight? How do you maintain weight? How do you work that all into this hormonal issue that you have? Because it is hormones. So that is where I'm at with the whole radioactive iodine. I'm going to stop my story here, and then tomorrow I'm taking you on the journey of, yeah, it was good for a while, and then all hell broke loose and it went crazy, and my heart started to do some strange and unusual things again, you know, because was there long-term damage done to my heart when it was beating at 120, 130 beats per minute for how long? I don't know. I don't know how long it was overactive before my mom noticed. I have no idea. Probably not very long, but long enough. But I don't think there's any long-term damage. That's the good part. So stay tuned for tomorrow's episode when I take you on the full underactive hypothyroid post, I-131 treatment. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. If you know someone that has thyroid issues, share this with them, because I'm really finding out a lot of other people's stories and a lot of people that have had this done. And, you know, I mean, it's kind of good because when an issue arises, you have other people to talk to about it. Like, oh, okay, so this is what you did when this happened. Or, oh, this happened to me and here's what I did. So that's why I'm sharing it with you guys, because there are so many people out there that have thyroid issues that aren't aware of it. And it could be really, really messing with your hormones. All right. So you guys have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow and take you on my hypothyroid journey. Have a great one.